Welcome to the Game of Indicators. Test your knowledge on the State Performance Plan Annual Performance Report, SPP APR. Your presenters today are Lauren Thieneman, SPP APR Coordinator.
Amanda Waldrop, Assistant Director of the Division of IDEA Implementation and Preschool.
Amy Patterson, Special Education Data Manager for the Office of Special Education and Early Learning.
On today's agenda, there's an overview of the SPP APR. We'll review the SPP APR Indicator Support Guide, discuss the Special Education Indicator Dashboard, and play Game of Indicators. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, known as IDEA, requires each state to have in place a state performance plan. This plan describes and evaluates the state's efforts to implement the requirements of the IDEA and describe how the state will improve its implementation. The SPP includes annual targets for 17 indicators that measure a mix of student outcomes and compliance with the requirements of the IDEA. States are required to submit an SPP at least every 6 years. Each year, states must report against the targets in their SPP in an annual performance report. The annual performance report, also known as the APR, reflects the state's progress towards meeting its goals. The APR consists of the following: targets for each indicator, the state's performance for each indicator, an explanation for slippage if applicable, and any additional information the state considers relevant to the indicator. Targets for compliance indicators are set by the Office of Special Education Programs, or OSEP, and cannot be adjusted. Compliance indicator targets are set at either 0% or 100%. On the left-hand side of the table, you'll see indicators where a target is set at 0%, and on the right hand of the table, you will see indicators where the target has been set at 100%. The remainder of the indicators are what's known as results indicators. You'll see them listed on this slide. Targets for results indicators are set with stakeholder input.
And so to improve educational outcomes for students with disabilities, the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Special Education Programs charged states with developing a State Systemic Improvement Plan, or SSIP. And so this is indicator 17 of the SPP APR. And so as part of the SSIPs, states conducted a data and infrastructure analysis to determine an area of focus. So in Kentucky, we gathered a representative group of stakeholders who determined the area of focus as supporting teacher practice to improve educational outcomes for students with disabilities in mathematics. And so as part of the SSIP work, the Office of Special Education and Early Learning, or OSEAL, is currently engaged with 11 districts and 31 schools to improve educational outcomes for students with disabilities in mathematics. And so we also have the SPP APR Indicator Support Guide. And so really what this support guide does is it provides an overview of each indicator. And this includes the definition, how the data is collected and measured, as well as resources and frequently asked questions. And so you can access the Indicator Support Guide with the QR code that's available on the screen.
Another resource that we've created is a special education dashboard. This dashboard has two parts. It has the child count data that also includes the least restrictive environment data, as well as the special education indicator dashboard. This has many of the indicators and there are more to come. And it also has district profiles. We created this dashboard as an easy way to access data. This is based on stakeholder improvement, stakeholder engagement, as well as just public reporting requirements. So what you're looking at here is indicator 5A, and it shows each district within the state for the 2021-2022 school year. And as you can mouse over the district and you can see what percentage of students in the district make up indicator 5A. This shows the same data. Well, actually, this is indicator 5B. It shows this data by co-ops. This view is nice because sometimes with indicator 5B, the numbers are so small that the data will be suppressed. If there are any numbers less than 10, the data will have to be suppressed. So when we group it by co-op, it allows us to show a little bit more data that's available. And again, you can mouse over the co-op and see what percentage of students make up indicator 5B in this case. This is just a different way to look at the data. It shows each co-op and each disability and the percentage in each. It's a pretty interesting look just to review the data and see where the hot spots are for each disability category. And then this is indicator 6A. This is broken up by RTCs, early childhood RTCs. It's the same as the CERTACs, the Regional Technical Assistance Centers, where you can mouse over the RTC and look and see what percentage of students make up indicator 6A. And then this is a district profile. Eventually, we plan to have all indicators on here. Right now, we only have the results indicators, but it'll show for the district whether they met the target or not for each year and what their percentage was for each indicator. And then this is a view that allows you to look at targets or at percentages over time. So you can see that this particular district or CERTAC or RTC for indicator 5A went from 68% to 71%. For indicator 6B, they went 36.5 to 47.6. So they had quite a bit of increase on that one. And these are on a grid. So the reason indicator 6 is in the middle of indicators between indicators 5A and 5B is because 36.5 is between 11.4 and 68.
Now it's time to test your knowledge. We're going to play a game of indicators to test your knowledge around indicators presented today. If you're using this PowerPoint during a training, you can pause the video after each question to give participants time to determine an answer. When you're ready, resume the video to hear the answer. A question will appear on the slide. Work with your team to determine an answer using the SPP APR Indicator Support Guide or the Special Education Indicator Dashboard. Check your answer based on the information presented. Indicator 1 represents the percent of students with individual education programs, or IEPs, ages 14 to 21, whose reason for exiting was graduating with a regular diploma, graduating with an alternate diploma, turning 21, dropping out.
So indicator 1 measures the percent of students with IEPs graduating with a regular diploma. The data comes from the Special Education Exit Report in Infinite Campus. This data is submitted annually at the end of the school year through Infinite Campus. And our target for FFY 2021 was 81.85%.
Question number 2, where does the data come from when calculating indicator 2, percentage of students aged 14 to 21 who drop out? The 4-year cohort rate, Special Education Exit Report in Infinite Campus, the student's IEP, or self-report?
The answer is the Special Education Exit Report in IC. Indicator 2 is the percent of students ages 14 through 21 with IEPs who drop out of school. This data comes from the Special Education Exit Report in Infinite Campus. Our target for 2021 was 7.97%.
Indicator 3B includes students who took alternate assessment only, regular assessment only, all of the above, none of the above.
And so the answer for this one is regular assessment only. And so you can see for indicator 3 what it measures. So it measures assessment and it breaks it apart into indicators 3A through D. So 3A includes participation rate for students with IEPs. 3B includes proficiency rate for students with IEPs that take the regular assessment. 3C is proficiency rate for students with IEPs that take the alternate assessment, and 3D measures gap and proficiency rates for students that are for all students, as well as students with IEPs that took the regular assessment. And so you can see the data comes from the Kentucky School Report Card. And then you can also see the targets for 3B and 3C on the slide. And so it's broken apart into reading and mathematics. And then you can see the grade levels of 4, 8, and high school. And then you can see each of the targets for each of those specific areas.
The indicator 5C data dashboard for my district shows data not available. This means my district forgot to submit our child count data. No students in my district have an LRE setting of regular education classrooms more than 40% of the time. No students in my district have an LRE setting of residential facility, homebound hospital, or separate school. My district had its data redacted because it had less than 10 students with an LRE setting of residential facility, homebound hospital, or separate school.
And so the answer is my district had its data redacted because it has less than 10 students with an LRE setting of residential facility, homebound hospital, or separate school. And so you can see here for indicator 5 what it measures. So it measures the percent of children with IEP ages 5 and enrolled in kindergarten and ages 6 through 21 served. And you can see 5A, B, and C. So A is inside the regular class 80% or more of the day. B is regular class less than 40% of the day, and C is separate schools, residential facilities, or homebound or hospital placements. And so the data comes from, district staff entered the LRE data into the IEP within Infinite Campus. And then you can see each of the targets for FFY 2021, 5A through C on the slide displayed.
Sub-indicator 6C was added in FFY 2020, which includes preschool students who receive special education or related services in the home. True or false?
The answer is true. Indicator 6 measures the percent of children with IEPs ages 3, 4, and 5 who are enrolled in a preschool program. 6A is those receiving the majority of special education and related services in a regular early childhood program, so in the classroom. 6B is attending a separate special education class, separate school, or residential facility. And 6C is those students receiving special education and related services at home. This data is also entered into the LRE section of the IEP in Infinite Campus, and we pull the data through the child count report. And you can see our FFY 2021 targets on the slide displayed.
Indicator 8 represents the percent of parents with a child receiving special education services who report that schools improved results for their child. True or false?
The answer is false. Indicator 8 measures the percent of parents who report that the school facilitated parent involvement. The data comes from a survey that is sent out from parents of children with IEPs, and those parents submit responses to the survey annually. The FFY 2021 target is 80.5%, and a goal that Kentucky has is to increase parent involvement over the next few years.
Indicator 14C includes students 1 year after graduation who are enrolled in higher education, competitively employed, enrolled in some other post-secondary or training program, participating in some other employment other than competitive employment, all of the above, none of the above.
And so the answer to this one is all of the above. So indicator 14 measures the percent of students with IEPs no longer in school. And so 14A is specifically focused on students that are enrolled in higher education. B adds higher education along with competitively employed. And then C includes higher education, other post-secondary education or training program, or competitively employed or in some other employment within 1 year of leaving high school. And so the data comes from the Youth One Year Out instrument. And so this is, trained interviewers from the district contact students or parents of youth with IEPs that are no longer in school 1 year outside of exiting school. And so all of that information is entered onto the Youth One Year Out instrument, or the yo-yo instrument. And so you can see the targets for FFY 2021 for 14A through C available on the slide. And so this just gives you some tips for using the indicator guide and special education indicator dashboard. So you saw a little bit of that shared with you today during the presentation. So the first thing you could do is develop a team and then conduct a data analysis using the special education indicator dashboard. And then the indicator guide can really help to support with looking at that data, because it provides definitions about each indicator and how the data is collected. And then from there, within the data dashboard, you can begin to review for trends and potentially identify root causes. And then once those root causes are identified, an action plan could be generated to help address the data, and then review the action plan regularly to check for progress towards those action items. And so if you have any questions about the data dashboard, the state performance plan and annual performance report, or the indicator guide, feel free to contact any of us. Our contact information is available on the screen. And so thank you all so much for joining us today.